Hey everyone, this is Diego speaking. Some of you guys probably recognize me or you see me before. I am one of the former interns that was there at the well last year in the fall. I know it's been probably a month or 2 months since I've seen you guys. I miss you guys a lot. I know that you guys are probably distressed or frustrated with how things have changed, the way we operate, and how this virus has impacted many of us. And so I want to say that I miss you guys and that we miss you entirely, just interacting with you on a normal basis and how we normally do things, right? I just want to say that I hope you guys are staying safe, and that you guys are practicing social distancing. You guys are wearing your masks. You guys are washing your hands and just kind of, making sure that, you're trying to stay safe and, and try not to catch the virus as it can be very dangerous for anybody. Today, well, I just want to say that it's been an honor for me just to be chosen to do this. One of the things that I'm going to be talking with you about today is hearing God's voice. I think hearing God's voice is super important, especially in today's time, especially with what's going around and today. And so I'm going to lay out 7 points and 7 points that I think are key and how to identify if what we think God is saying is in fact coming from Him and not from the devil, right? And so to begin, uh, you know, uh, I know many, sometimes we ask ourselves, how do we know God is talking to us? Some of us maybe, don't really clearly hear what God is saying because maybe we're just not able to discern it, right? Or maybe there's just too much noise going around, and like I mentioned before, like the virus could be, that's a lot of noise, right? A lot of bad noise, and so. And throughout the Bible, God shows us how to filter that noise and to really hear truly what He is saying. To begin, the first point in identifying what God is saying is we gotta test it, right? We need to test what if the message is good, or if the message is not good, or if the message is legit, a message that we think God is saying, right? So we gotta test it, right? Like for example, in First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21, it says, "But test them all, hold on to what is good," right? And this leads to the second point, and that second point is, you need to learn how, or not learn, but you need to be discerning, right? You need to be able to recognize if the message is good, if it's not good, and discerning it, you got to put a label on the message. Sometimes we don't even know if the message is good or bad, right? And that can be difficult, right? And so in First Corinthians chapter 10, verse 15, Paul said, I speak to sensible people, judge for yourselves what I say, right? And this leads to the next point. The next point, a question to ask yourself is this message found from the scripture, right? Um, in First Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 11, it says, these things happened to them as examples and were written down as warnings for us on whom the culmination of the ages has come. Another scripture from Second Timothy chapter 3, verse 16 to 17, through 17, it says, all scripture is God breath and it's useful for teaching, rebuking, key word right here, it says correcting and training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work, right? So these two scriptures tells us that, we have basically the evidence in the Bible, right? The Bible is contains so much evidence, or let's just say a way to confirm that this is actually matches the message that we're hearing either from other people, or the message that we're hearing it from our dreams, or from somewhere, right? But yeah, you need to ask, yourself, is the message found in the scripture? And so that is a key thing, is to recognize if it's coming from God. The fourth question, or the fourth point to ask yourself is, does the message glorify God, right? And a perfect scripture in First Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 31, it says, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God, right? we want to make sure that this message is literally praising God and it's not doing contrary what He doesn't want you to do, or something that is not pleasant to God, right? And so, and everything we do, we want to make sure that we do it for the glory of God, and so we want to make sure that the message is living up to that, right? The fifth point, or the fifth question is the message confirmed by wise counsel, right? Is the message recommended by a professional? And in this case, the professional would be Jesus Christ, right? And First Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1 through 2, it says, "Follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. I praise you for remembering me in everything and for holding to the traditions just as I passed them on to you." Right? So Paul is saying that you can follow my example, but really my example is actually backed by Jesus Christ because I'm actually following what Jesus taught, right? And so that's another way into identifying if the message is coming from God is it following the example of Jesus Christ, right? The sixth question to ask is, does it lead to freedom or captivity? All right, in Galatians chapter 5, verse 1, it says, "It is for freedoms that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then and do not let yourself be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." And another scripture in First Corinthians chapter 10, verse 23 to 24, it says, "I have the right to do anything you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive. No one should seek their own good, but the good of others," right? So is this message leading to hurt other people, or is it leading to where you're going to be trapped, right? Or is it in the trap of the devil, right? And so that's another question to ask, or to, use as a guide is the message leading me to freedom, or is it leading me back into slavery, or is it leading me back into being trapped by the devil? And so, as you know, that sin, being living in sin is being living in captivity. And so, we want to make sure that the message is not leading us to sin, or is not leading us to do something bad. The last final question, or the last final point, is, does the message help me love and bless others? All right, in First Corinthians chapter 10, verse 32 to 33, never do anything that might make other people do wrong, Jews, non-Jews, or anyone in God's church. I do the same. I try to please everyone in every way. I'm not trying to do what is good for me. I'm trying to do what is good for the most people so that they can be saved, right? And so we want to make sure that this message is literally going to be loving other people and blessing others, right? And so, and it's not, fixated into ourselves, right? We don't want to be self-centered. We don't want to, be filled with greed or pride. And so we want to make sure that this message is not leading us to that, and that is leading instead into loving other people. So again, it's pretty short points, pretty short questions to ask, but if using this as a guide can help, hopefully most people in how to identify if the message or what we're hearing is coming from God directly. And so following or using that as a guide can help you a lot into identifying that. Some of you guys probably know immediately if it's coming from God or not, which is good because it means that you practice a lot of discerning, which is awesome. But just laying these out 7 points can help you out a lot. And so I hope you took something out of this. I know it's not super long. I try to keep it, on point and straightforward. And so I hope this is helpful for you guys. Again, I miss you guys a lot. Hopefully I could free up some time and see you soon, and just to visit you. And even though if we're not able to physically sit, or being sitting face to face, at least seeing you can, hopefully I can do that. And so I just want to say again, thank you for you guys, thank you all for just for listening and for paying attention. As I know, sometimes it's not easy for some of you guys. I know sometimes when I'm watching a video, it's I can lose track of mine, and so I appreciate you guys for listening. And again, thank you, the Well, for inviting me into doing this.